Welcome, friends, to another Wolf Responds.
I call this one The Corporate State, a New American Milestone. I choose my words with care, as I trust you've come to understand. But I believe we have just witnessed a moment that demands our focus. A critical juncture on a path toward a form of governance we should all be wary of. I am speaking of the decision finalized this week where the United States government will transform billions of dollars in previously allocated grants into a direct ownership stake in the Intel Corporation. Using roughly $8.9 billion, funded by the CHIPS and Science Act and the Secure Enclave program, the American government is set to acquire a nearly 10% share of one of the most critical high-tech firms in the world. This is not a bailout in the traditional sense. Intel has been facing significant headwinds. Its stock has taken a beating, losing significant value as competitors like AMD and Nvidia have eroded its dominance in key markets, especially the burgeoning field of artificial intelligence. The company has engaged in mass layoffs and suspended dividends, clear signs of a giant under duress. The government's intervention, this conversion of grants to equity, is a lifeline, a multi-billion-dollar injection of taxpayer capital. It allows the board of directors and top executives whose strategic missteps contributed to this decline to steady the ship. Their positions, their multi-million-dollar compensation packages, are secured. The primary beneficiaries are the existing shareholders who see their risk mitigated by the public purse. So why do I call this a milestone toward a corporate state? Let's be precise with our definitions. The fascist regimes of the 20th century, particularly in Italy, were defined by the doctrine of corporatism. Benito Mussolini's corporate state was built on the idea of merging the power of the state with the power of major corporations. The goal was to eliminate class conflict by bringing industry, labor, and the state into a single, unified body where the national interest as defined by the dictator was paramount. In practice, this meant the government propped up, subsidized, and sometimes rescued failing companies through entities like the Institute for Industrial Reconstruction, which by 1939 controlled a massive share of Italian industry. In exchange for this support, corporate entities were expected to align completely with the government's political and military goals. Profit became private, but losses were socialized. Notice the parallels. This is not about helping the working class. It is a fusion at the highest levels. The government is not just offering a loan or a tax incentive. It is becoming an owner. With a nearly 10% stake, the U.S. government will be the largest single shareholder in Intel. Now, consider where this leads. I know where it has led before. What happens when the thousands of workers at Intel's facilities in Arizona, Ohio, or Oregon decide to exercise their legally protected right to strike for better wages or working conditions? They will not merely be striking against a private corporation. They will be striking against an entity in which the United States government is the principal owner. Will the president at the time view this as a simple labor dispute or as a challenge to national security? Will we see a repeat of dark moments in American history, like the Pullman strike of 1894, when President Grover Cleveland sent federal troops to crush a railroad strike, resulting in violence and death? Are we reviving a past where the military is used not to defend the nation but to discipline the workforce? Consider the administration's well-documented hostility toward organized labor, especially for government employees. We have already seen executive orders aimed at stripping collective bargaining rights from federal workers. What is to stop a president from declaring that national security requires a no-strike rule for any company in which the government holds a significant stake? Could we see the rise of government-sanctioned unions designed to pacify workers and supplant the independent unions created by them? This was a hallmark of the corporate state in both Germany and Italy, where free trade unions were banned and replaced by state-controlled labor fronts. And what of the international implications? For years, the United States government has waged a campaign against the Chinese tech giant Huawei, arguing that its ties to the Chinese government make its equipment a potential tool for espionage. We have pressured allies not to use their products and restricted their access to American technology, all under the banner of national security. How will the world now view Intel? As a private enterprise or as an extension of the US government? Any nation with a political disagreement with the United States will have every reason to suspect that Intel's chips could contain backdoors for American intelligence agencies. They could express their opposition to US foreign policy by simply refusing to buy Intel products. In our effort to onshore the supply chain, we may have inadvertently politicized it in a way that hands a major advantage to our global competitors. People are rightly focused on global conflicts and domestic turmoil. But here, in this complex financial transaction, we are witnessing a profound shift. It is a deliberate merger of state and corporate power, a power grab that centralizes economic and political control in the executive branch. This is the architecture of a different kind of system, one that is profoundly reminiscent of the corporatism that defined 20th century fascism. We are taking steps whose repercussions are far greater than our leaders are willing to admit, and I urge you, think deeply about the destination we are being led to. Because when a system is re-engineered to serve the fused interests of a ruling political faction and a handful of corporate giants, the crash that inevitably follows risks taking all of us down with it. If you believe these interventions are a necessary part of our national dialogue, please share this video. It's why we produce them. And if you are in a position to help us cover the costs of this work, your support would be deeply valued and have a meaningful social impact. Thank you.